While working in a bookstore in London, an American tourist asked me where our fiction section was. I pointed him towards it. He came back a few minutes later, looking confused. No, I mean, like Harry Potter and stuff. This is all in British. I had to gently explain to a grown man that we speak and write in English, just like in America. He thought British was a completely different language. I was managing a high-end hotel in Paris when an American family checked in. The father came down to the concierge desk later, looking very concerned. He said, "My family and I are worried about the water. We heard European water isn't safe." I assured him that Paris has some of the safest, cleanest tap water in the world. He shook his head and said, "No, I mean it's not fortified. In the States, our water is fortified with vitamins and minerals. This water just feels empty. Can you get us some American water? We need our nutrients." I had to explain that we don't import tap water and that the concept of fortified water isn't a standard thing. He left, muttering about how we were depriving his children of essential vitamins. A tourist in Rome was staring at the Trevi fountain and asked me, "So is this water like imported from a clean country? Or is it just regular Italian water?" I was so stunned, I just said, "It's fountain water." He nodded sagely and said, "Right, so not safe to drink. They should really put up a sign in English." There were about 5 signs in multiple languages, including English. My friend is a park ranger at the Grand Canyon. He told me about a tourist who approached him with a very serious complaint. The man said, "I've been looking at this canyon for an hour and it hasn't done anything, it's just sitting there." The ranger was confused and asked what he expected. The tourist replied, "Well, for the price of admission, I expected some kind of show. Maybe some eagles flying on cue or a scheduled rock slide. Something. In Las Vegas, the fountains dance every 15 minutes. You guys have a real lack of programming here." He genuinely believed a geological wonder of the world should have scheduled entertainment, like a theme park. My cousin was convinced that if you eat a bag of chips and drink a Diet Coke, the calories cancel each other out. Her logic was that diet means negative calories, so it subtracts the calories from the junk food. She was a personal trainer. I'm not kidding. She genuinely argued this point with a nutritionist at a family gathering, insisting the nutritionist was just trying to sell her expensive meal plans. Overheard at a cafe in Paris. American tourist to the waiter. "Can I get a coffee, but with regular milk?" Waiter. "Oui, monsieur, with milk." Tourist. "No, not French milk. American milk." "From an American cow." The waiter just stood there blinking before saying, "I am sorry, monsieur, our cows. They are French?" The tourist huffed and said, "Unbelievable, so unaccommodating." While working at a museum in Rome, an American tourist asked me why Italy had so many ruins. "It seems like you guys don't take very good care of your buildings," he said. I explained that these structures were thousands of years old. He scoffed and replied, "So? We have buildings in New York that are over 100 years old and they look brand new. It's just a maintenance issue. If your government spent less on pasta and more on power washing, you could have this place looking respectable. It's honestly a bit embarrassing for you." He saw the Colosseum not as a historical treasure, but as a sign of poor national upkeep. I was a tour guide at the ancient ruins of Pompeii. An American man asked me in all seriousness, "So the volcano wiped everyone out, right? Why didn't they just sue the government for not having better volcano security? In the States, someone would have paid for this." I had to explain the concept of a natural disaster in 79 AD to him. A customer at my electronics store tried to return a laptop. His reason? The Wi-Fi doesn't work. I tested it and it connected to our store's network perfectly. He got angry and said, "No, I mean the real Wi-Fi at my house. This laptop should come with its own internet. I shouldn't have to buy it separately. It's a wireless computer. He thought wireless meant it generated its own internet connection from thin air. Dialogue I witnessed at an airport currency exchange in Tokyo, American. I need to change this back to dollars. Clerk. Okay, sir? American. I gave you $100 bill earlier, and you gave me all this yen. I only spent a little, so I should get like $90 back. Clerk. Sir, the exchange rate fluctuates and there is a service fee. American. That's a scam. A dollar is a dollar. It doesn't just change value. This is robbery. I worked in IT support for a university. A professor called absolutely frantic because all his research from the last 10 years had vanished. He said he had been storing it all on the cloud. After a long investigation, I discovered he had been saving all his documents to a folder on his desktop that he had renamed the cloud. He thought that by simply naming the folder, it would automatically sync to a secure off-site server. The computer's hard drive had failed, and he had never made a single backup. He couldn't grasp that he hadn't been using an actual cloud service. His logic was that the name alone should have invoked the technology. My aunt believes that Alaska and Hawaii are right next to each other, somewhere off the coast of California, because that's how they're shown on all the maps in her school. When I showed her a globe, she accused me of having a fake liberal globe and insisted that it was more logical to have all the states together. I was working at a national park in Canada. An American tourist came to the information desk and asked, "What time do you guys turn on the Northern Lights? We're only here for one night and want to make sure we don't miss the show." He thought it was a man-made light display we operated on a schedule. A woman on a flight to Australia asked the flight attendant if they could please fly a bit lower so she could get a better phone signal. The flight attendant politely explained that's not how it works at 35,000 feet. The woman complained that for the price she paid, in-flight cellular service should be standard. I was on a flight from London to New York, sitting next to an American woman who was looking out the window. She turned to me and asked, "Do you know why they make us fly so high? It seems really inefficient." I explained it was about fuel efficiency and avoiding weather. She shook her head knowingly and said, "That's the cover story. The real reason is to keep us from seeing that the Earth is flat. If we flew lower, we'd be able to see the edge. They take us up so high that the curvature is faked by the shape of the airplane window." She then spent the next hour trying to convince me that pilots are all part of a global conspiracy. I once had an American student in my university history class in the UK who argued that the American Revolution was a huge mistake for Britain. His reasoning? If you hadn't let us go, you would have been part of the United States by now, and your economy would be way better. The sheer audacity and historical ignorance left the entire lecture hall silent. A guy I knew in college was adamant that the moon landing was faked. His proof? If we really went to the moon, why haven't we gone back? It's because the set they used was destroyed and they can't fake it again. In the same conversation, he claimed that the Egyptian pyramids were built by aliens. The mental gymnastics were astounding. A woman called our internet company's support line, furious that her Wi-Fi signal didn't reach her garden shed. The shed was about 200 feet from her house. I explained the physical limitations of a standard router's signal strength. She was not having it. "That's not my problem," she said. "The signal is made of waves, right? And I live near the ocean. You should be able to use the ocean waves to carry the Wi-Fi waves to my shed. They're all waves, just mix them together. It's basic science. I can't believe I have to explain this to a tech company. Just turn on the ocean wave feature for my account." At a pub in Dublin, an American tourist loudly complained that his Guinness tasted different than the Guinness he gets in Ohio. The bartender proudly said, "Of course it does, it's fresh from the brewery just down the road." The tourist slammed his fist on the table and yelled, "This is brand inconsistency. I want the one I'm used to. Get me a bottle of the imported stuff." My sister's American friend came to visit us in Spain. On the first day, she saw people taking a siesta in the afternoon and asked, "Why is everyone so lazy here? Don't they have jobs to do?" We explained it's a cultural tradition due to the intense midday heat. She replied, "That's what air conditioning is for. It's just an excuse for laziness." I was a teaching assistant for a basic astronomy class in college. A student submitted a final paper arguing that the sun and the moon were the same celestial object. His theory was that the sun was the day side of the object, which was on fire, and the moon was the night side, and which was the burnt-out, cool rock. He claimed that it flipped over every 12 hours. His proof was that you never see them in the sky at the same time. When I pointed out that you can, in fact, often see the moon during the day, he accused me of being brainwashed by big telescope, and that the daytime moon was just a reflection. I worked at a rental car company. A man called us stranded. He said the car we gave him was defective because the gas meter was already on E. I asked if he had tried putting gas in it. There was a long pause, followed by, "You mean I have to pay for the gas myself?" I thought it came with the car. What am I paying you for? My aunt went on a cruise to Alaska. When she came back, she was complaining that she didn't get to see any penguins. I gently explained that penguins live in the southern hemisphere, primarily Antarctica. She got very defensive and said, "That's ridiculous. Alaska is all ice and snow, and Antarctica is all ice and snow. They're the same thing, just on different ends of the planet. Why would the penguins only live on one of them? It's just lazy animal distribution. The cruise line should have shipped some in for the tourists. It's false advertising to show a snowy landscape and not have penguins." A customer came into my coffee shop and ordered a latte. A few minutes later, he brought it back to the counter, looking disgusted. "This is cold," he said. I touched the cup, and it was still very hot. I said, "Sir, it seems hot to me." He replied, "No, I mean the type of coffee. It's a latte. That's an Italian coffee. Italy is in the Mediterranean, which is a hot climate. Therefore, the coffee should be naturally hot. I usually drink Colombian coffee, and that's from the mountains, so it's okay for it to be a bit cooler. You've clearly used the wrong climate of bean for this drink." He had a whole pseudoscience theory based on the origin country's climate, determining the correct temperature of the final beverage. While visiting the Great Wall of China, I overheard an American teenager ask his father, "So, did they build this to keep the Mexicans out?" The father, without missing a beat, replied, "Originally, yeah, but now it's mostly for tourists." I wanted to throw myself off the wall. A woman called our IT support line because her computer mouse wasn't working. I went through the basics. "Is it plugged in?" She said, "It's wireless, you idiot." I asked if she had checked the batteries. She scoffed. "It's not a toy. It doesn't use batteries." I finally convinced her to look. She found the battery compartment and went silent for a full minute before hanging up. A woman came into the camera store where I worked and wanted to return a very expensive DSLR camera. Her reason was that the pictures were all blurry. I took a look at the camera and she had the lens cap on. I took it off and showed her. She was furious. Why would they sell me a camera that doesn't work with the cap on? That's the most important part. It protects the lens. I'm not going to take it off every time I want a picture. The lens will get dirty. You sold me a defective product that requires me to risk damaging it just to use it. I want a camera that can take pictures with the lens cap on. I was on a train from Amsterdam to Berlin. An American couple sitting opposite me were looking at a map. The woman said, "I'm so excited to get to Germany. I can't wait to see the Eiffel Tower." Her husband corrected her. "No, honey, that's in Italy." They argued about it for 10 minutes before deciding to ask me. They were not happy with my answer.